Many people say that music is a universal language. If that's the case, I would like to use music as a platform to talk about health. My name is Dr. Moshe Lewis, and I'm a full-time practicing physician who loves music and the way it affects our brains, our bodies, and our well-being. I would like to invite you to tune in where we interview musical artists about health matters that are important to them. But the truth is, we'll be discussing topics that affect all of us. From mental health to body image, cancer screening to stroke, our health is truly our greatest asset. So the goal is to open the dialogue on health to embrace topics that we don't always like to talk about in a way that's raw, candid, and lit. Hopefully, these discussions will improve the health of our community. After all, your health matters to me, and if I can make it sound more beautiful, then that's something we should all listen to.
Music and medicine, when you hear those words, how do they speak to your heart?
Music and medicine, music is medicine. You feel me?
Music and Medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Moshe Lewis. Really excited to be joined by my co-host, Kathleen Bradley. How are you?
I am so good today, and I'm really stoked about this guest we have on today. You know, I've known this young lady.
Yes, she's a young lady.
She's a young lady.
That's right.
For so many years, and we always come in contact with each other on some really pretty extraordinary events for fundraisers and different things of that nature, and play golf together. But you know what? As long as I've known her, right, I'm finding out more about her that is just amazing, right, her talent. And first, we're going to just introduce Miss Dawnn Lewis.
Yes. Which I have to say, Dr. Dawnn Lewis.
Yes, Dr. Dawnn Lewis, because I do want to take time and read a few of her accolades to let everybody out there know. You all really know her from different world. And, you know, that's the wonderful thing. However, she's much more than that. And he just called her Dr. Dawnn Lewis because she just received an honorary doctorate in the humanities for her more than 40 years of unwavering service and support. And she really does give herself to different charities and what have you. She has several, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But, you know, she's a Trumpet Award winner, Grammy Award winning singer, multiple NAACP Image Award, and BMI ASCAP Award singer. And she has just been, she just received a new award and something I'm going to let her tell you about and everything. But she does voiceovers and just so exciting. And we're so happy to have you on our show today. Dawnn, welcome.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Dr. Moshe. It's really my pleasure to be here. It really is.
Sure. Yeah. We've so looked forward to this. I want to, and like you said, the accolades and the appreciation that the community has for you is, there are no words really to express it. And I think sometimes it's easy to take it for granted because you are so intense, so hardworking, so giving back. I want to roll back to a little city I also spent some time in, quite a bit of time, Brooklyn. I want to go back to New York. And
put on the camera.
Exactly.
Right.
So
I'm back.
Talk to us about growing up there and your childhood. And I know you were singing by 4, but I want to talk about like your life there and sort of what it was like, sort of the good, the bad, and the indifferent.
You know, being in Brooklyn, I don't know what part you were raised in, but I was raised in Bed-Stuy.
Right, Crown Heights.
Do or die. Do or die, Bed-Stuy, where the expectation for any young person coming up from that community is not very high.
Right.
You know, what you see in your environment, that really is all that is expected of you. Particularly when I was coming up, that's what people spoke into you. Get yourself a trade. You're going to be, you know, some laborer type of person. They did not inspire you to dream bigger, to think better. For wherever you are in this world and you hear the term ghetto, that's the epitome of ghetto, where you're talking about hard life, limited resources, economic limitations, access to medical care, education, etc. However, when you are in the community is vibrant. The community is alive. The community pours into each other. You get a real sense of neighborhood. That's where block parties started, where everybody would come out and they would contribute food. There'd be music. There'd be games. You would respect your elders. That was one of those things where anyone on one house at the far end of the block, you act up at the far end of the block, your mama's going to know before you get halfway back up the block to your house, because that was the kind of neighborhood that would pour into each other. That's where I was raised. So it was a contradiction of what is available to you versus what got poured into you. So gratefully, I went to public school, PS9. That wasn't in Bed-Stuy. I had to get bused to school. But we had white kids, black kids, Latino kids, Asian kids, and a very progressive curriculum, even when I was in elementary school. So I had teachers who saw us and spoke into us, white teachers, black teachers, younger teachers, older teachers, which was an amazing environment. And I don't think teachers get enough love. They don't get enough credit. They don't get enough support for what they do for our young people and for our families.
Even today.
Even today.
Especially
today. Because as a child, you spend a majority of your time in the school, not with your parents, not with your siblings. And you are raised as a person in this environment, but you still got to do the work at home. But anyway, that was what it was like for me growing up. We always lived in Brooklyn. I moved 6 times, but always in Brooklyn. Bed-Stuy to Crown Heights, back to Park Slope, back to Bed-Stuy, ultimately ended up in Flatbush near Brooklyn College. I went to music and art, the High School of Music and Art, when it was up in Harlem. And graduated there at 16.
And I want to stop you before, because I know.
She's got more that's going on. All right.
I know music and art.
There you go.
Talk to us about how that school so sewed into your life.
Where M&A?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Music and art. When I auditioned for music and art, I auditioned for music and art and performing arts. I got into both schools. I got into performing arts for dance, and I got into music and art for voice and cello. I played cello for about 7 years, and they gave me a choice of which one I wanted to do. Well, music and art was in a building that looked like a big, huge castle up at the top of the hill on 135th and Convent. I looked at that hill with about 143 steps from the train station up to the hill.
Wasn't a hard
to carry that cello?
Exactly.
No, that was not. You know what? I'm going to sing. How about that? How about that? So I spent my years there studying music theory, how to write music, how to read music, sing music. I was classically trained. I sang opera for many, many years. And like I said, I was only in the 1st grade for a few months, went right into 2nd grade, never went to the 8th grade. I got skipped from 7th to 9th. So I was really young when I graduated from high school, and had already been lead singer in a band, had already had some poetry of mine published in a collection of up-and-coming artists and writers when I was 15. And I started dancing when I was 7. So that's been my whole journey, performing on the stage of the Brooklyn Academy of Music by the time I was 10, singing, all of that. So when I graduated, I definitely wanted to get out of New York. I did, because I knew if I'd stayed in New York, I probably wouldn't have gone to college, because I was already working. That, and it was a very difficult relationship between me and my mom at the time. Teenagers, and you're doing this, and my family was raised in South America. So I'm the 1st generation American, the 1st female in our family born in the States.
Do you have other siblings as well?
I have 3 brothers. My oldest brother was born in South Dakota on the military base where my dad was stationed. My dad and my mom are both from Guyana, South America. They grew up across the street from each other, but he joined the military. That's how he got his citizenship, then sponsored his bride, my mom, to come up. And then one by one, she sponsored her 7 siblings. She's the oldest of 8, and her parents to come up. So we teased my brother, born on the military base in South Dakota. For the first 6-7 months of his life, he was listed as white on his birth certificate. Yes, because they said, no, he has to be white. If he was born in this hospital, because we don't have black people in this hospital. Yes.
My in-laws are from the Knot, so I know.
There you go. So they took my parents almost 7.5, 8 months to get my brother's birth certificate corrected.
Wow.
So we tease them, say, you came out the womb trying to pass, bruh. It's
I'm
not
sorry,
gonna work.
that's not
It's not going to work.
happening.
So myself and my other 2 brothers were born in New York City. So it was a lot of contradictory information that we were receiving, how to be independent, because my mom raised us as a single parent. There were real challenges with domestic violence. My dad was very charming, but he had a dark side when he was home. And my mom left, and segue, which was why it was important to me to do Tina on Broadway as Tina Turner's mother, who left Tina as a young child to save her life from domestic violence. So the story was a very personal story, very personal role for me. Anyway, so we're back in New York and receiving this contradictory information about what it's like to be raised in a patriarchal society, which is what it was when my mom was raised, but at the same time, being taught that you have to be your own person, you have to make your own way, you have to speak into yourself. So it was this, okay, so Mom, which is it? Which is it? So I went away to school. I went to University of Miami.
Right. And before we go too far into that, I know, Mr. Johnson went there too, and you did a project with him. But talk to us about that conflict, in the sense that you feel that some of it wasn't maybe just growing up as a teen, but sensing, like you said, the tension of the way Mom was acting versus being able to really have your own voice about, what had happened. Because I think it's really hard, for kids when they see domestic violence to be able to say what they're feeling.
It was a real challenge because you're in a space that is not appropriate, that's not safe. Yet these are the people that at the core of it, love you. So you start to wonder, is this what love is? Is this how I have to behave with someone that I love? Is this something that I have to accept? Yes or no? And ultimately the reality was no. And ultimately the reality was it wasn't my fault. Ultimately, you learn that there were issues, there were situations that really poured into my dad's persona and his life outside. That was the only way he knew to channel it. Right. It doesn't make what he did right. But at the same time, as you get older, you learn that it wasn't you, that all of those things that can really be crippling.
It wasn't even your mom.
It wasn't even my mom.
Right.
That could be crippling. And my dad was head of the Department of Homicide in Brooklyn when I was growing up. So when my mom would go to the police to report the violence, you would get comments like, well, if you just did what he told you, he wouldn't have to hit you.
Wow.
Because she was basically reporting to his subordinates.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But that's where we've come as a society.
Right.
They
and
take
still have a long way to
domestic violence crimes a lot more seriously now. Me as an adult growing up, it let me know what I did not want to have in my life, what I did not want to have in my relationships. My dad, rest his soul, grew to be a better person before he passed away. But I really believe that was due to the love and grace of my mom, how she never spoke poison into us about our dad. She let us have our own relationship with him, and she just taught us to love ourselves and be better people, not in opposition to what we witness, but just be a better person, make better choices. Right. She taught my brothers to respect women by respecting me and protecting me. And I have 3 of the most amazing brothers on the planet. So when it came my turn to get married, I made sure I checked all the boxes.
Exactly.
House and never.
Sure. Exactly.
House and never. The person that I ended up marrying ended up being a fraud and presented his best self. He sent his representative. That's who I fell in love with, and that's who I agreed to marry. And then once we got married, it was like his head spun around, and he was like, "Look, this
pea soup out."
Go.
Was that before or after you were on the different world?
That was after.
After you got married? After.
No, that was after A Different World. That was
So you think
many years.
pretty much you had your celebrity and notoriety, and that he was gravitated more
absolutely.
towards that.
He was counting on the money.
Oh,
he was counting on the access. He was counting on the marriage being more, in the presentation of the marriage being more important than the quality of the relationship. And I said, no, you clearly mistook me for somebody else.
Is that right?
No. And then when I voiced that, we were only together for a few months, and he really flipped and showed his real self within just a few months. I wanted a divorce. I wanted out. And that's when he got violent. I never in a million years would have ever envisioned myself in the very environment that I had sworn I would never be in. So the difference then compared to what my mother did, I went to the police and said, this just happened. And they said, we're sorry that happened to you. And they went and handled it and arrested him. It broke my heart to say this person that I just agreed to be with for my life, I'm now having arrested. But you learn that it didn't start with you. You're just the first person who actually stood up. And then you find out that there's a list of other people
that he had involved in
that
his
he
life.
had involved.
That's how it
But because
usually
of who he was, they got a pass. He got a pass. He got excused. And the women became vilified. But people knew me. And they're like, yeah, no, I don't think Dawnn Lewis is that. So no, dude, it must be you. And then a lot of truths started coming out. So for any young person who's in that environment, who is confused by that environment, who is now being emotionally challenged or damaged because of that environment, know that it doesn't last always. I would encourage them to figure out the love within themselves and to seek that out.
That's absolutely true. And like you say, it's unfortunate, and you never really think it's going to happen to you.
Exactly.
And you go into a love relationship and a honeymoon and everything, and you think you know this person, even though we know it takes time over time to really know and learn to love somebody. But for someone just to go from day to night, from good to bad, all in like, whoa. Hey,
how did I miss that?
That is, sometimes there's signs, sometimes there aren't. So.
There aren't, because if that person is committed to doing it, they will keep up the pretense as long as they need to keep up the pretense. And you're left wondering, how did I miss that? It says, no, you didn't. It was not present until it was convenient for them to make it. So,
but the main thing, like you're saying, telling these young women especially, get out.
Get out.
It's so hard sometimes, as you know, because you're dependent. This person might have making money, your husband or somebody, you have children, and like they find it so hard just to get up and walk out and leave. But there are so many places nowadays that
will give you assistance, which didn't exist in my mom's generation. So I'm grateful that over the course of time and over the course of years, we're taking that more and more seriously, which is why things like what we're dealing with in politics now, with deciding what to do with your own body, makes all the difference in the world. Because if you are subjugated to someone in that nature and end up getting pregnant, they end up raping you. They end up, the last thing you want is to carry to term this perpetual reminder of that pain, of that violation, of that crime, so no, we, God willing, will be able to get our society back on track to where certain things are taken out of the hands of government and put back in the hands of responsible adults.
We have work to do.
Amen. There's a sermon right there. When you were speaking, and I apologize for the pregnant pause, you made me think about your foundation. And I knew we were going to get to it, but talk to us about A New Day, because I think so much of what you sow into them, we were just getting a chance to hear. That while the field trips and the educational piece is very important, and I know you all do that, it's really sort of those private conversations that you all have that really create a safe space. Talk to us about that.
Well, we have programs, and thank you for mentioning that. The foundation is called the A New Day Foundation, which is a play on my name, Dawnn, A New Day. But our goal, our mission is to create an environment that introduces to our participants, our teens, that where you were yesterday is not where you need to be today, nor where you have to end up tomorrow. So we want to be your new day of opportunity, that if long as you are waking up, you can do better. with today than you did with the day before. You can do more to deposit into yourself to be your best self. So we have programs for teen boys. It's called Mentors, MEN, capital TORS, which stands for Men Talking of Relevant Situations.
Oh, wow.
And for girls, it's called Sisters Hangout.
Sure.
And both are for teens 13 to 19. Where we, like you said, introduce them to different career and cultural opportunities that they don't normally get access to or even know that they exist.
Right.
Everything from the Bill Pickett Rodeo to going to LAX or any other airport and shadowing the engineers to see how an airport is run, to NBA headquarters to see this is behind the scenes. We know the players and the players' names. But what happens in the office, the marketing, the general manager, all of that? As Kathleen mentioned, I do a lot of animation work. So we've taken groups of kids into a recording studio and taught them how to make and produce their own animation and video game projects, taught them how to break down and direct the script, work the mixer board, EQ the mics, how to get on the mic and create different characters. But with each of those opportunities, we feed them.
Right.
And we have, to your point, what we call a safe space conversation, where after the day, after they've interacted with all the other teens in the group, we've now created an environment where they can open up and be transparent about what's going on in their lives. So it's a group where they talk candidly, where they talk authentically, and they're transparent. And what they learn is that what they're dealing with, they're not the only ones dealing with it.
Right. Are they like at-risk children or just regular
No,
teens?
underserved.
Where did they come from?
Where did they come from? They come from all around the city, from different church groups, different school organizations. It's all word of mouth.
Right.
And those opportunities we keep to small groups, only 20 to 25 kids at the most. And the parents release their kid to us for the day. They have to sign a waiver. They drop the kid off and they come back 6 hours later. Because particularly in that conversation, we want the kids to feel empowered to be transparent.
Right.
And sometimes the challenging thing that they need to discuss is their parent.
Right, exactly.
And with the parents sitting there, they won't say certain things.
Right.
But now they have an opportunity for peer-to-peer mentorship.
Right.
Like I said, recognizing that they're not the only one in the circle dealing with what they are dealing with. And we help them channel and challenge themselves to find different perspectives and different tools and skill sets on how to navigate what's going on with their life. And all of our fundraising is done so that everything we do, we offer free of charge.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is hear about it,
Right.
register, and commit to showing up. Because we then have materials all ready for you. Like I said, meals, group, all of that, entry fees, all of that available. So, we do what we can
It's
to
all relevant.
bring the arts back into schools.
Sure. And on that note, we can go backwards to go forward. So let's talk about your precociousness, starting off singing at 4.
Precocious?
There we go. I would say so.
Boys?
And that transition into writing, because that's something you were into much earlier than many people might have ever realized.
I started writing music when I was really very, very young, writing songs. I think I was 11, 12 when I wrote my first song, and poetry I started writing very, very early. It was a good way for me to channel that hostile environment that I told you that I was in, putting it down on paper. And when I look back now, because I still have all of that in different little journals. I started writing journals when I was in junior high school. When I look back at some of the things that I had written, it was like, wow, my heart goes out to that little girl. It really does. My heart goes out to that little girl. Anyway, so coming up through school, through music and art, I was surrounded by amazing musicians that the world has come to know now in the jazz world. People like Marcus Miller, Omar Hakim. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Then I went down to Miami for college as an applied voice major singing opera.
Right.
But as I mentioned, I was
At
already
16.
I was 16 years old. They were very reluctant to enroll me in the school because I was so young and coming so far from home. But I had a grandmother who lived maybe about 40 minutes from campus who agreed, to keep an eye out for me if there were ever any issues or whatever. But they wanted me to take some of the classes I'd already had in high school. music theory, sight singing. I was like, well, I'm not taking that again. I already had it in high school. So I erased what they wrote for me and wrote in what I wanted. So I wrote in dance classes and acting classes and got called into the dean's office about a month into school and said, young lady, this is your one and only warning, because we weren't going to admit you in the first place.
Oh, wow.
But what you're not going to do is come here and not go to class. I said, what are you talking about? So you haven't been here or here or here. And I said, oh, I'm not in that class. I'm in this class, this class, and this class. It's like, well, who told you to do that? I said, well, I'm paying for school. I'm on work study, student loans. I said, I figure I take the classes I want to take. And what they said to me then was that, unbeknownst to me, the School of Music and School of Fine Arts had been in conversations for a couple of years about starting a new degree program for people like myself, which, you know, participated in a multiple disciplines. So I said, okay, well, what would I have to do? They said, well, basically what you already doing. But I had to re-audition for all the classes I was already in. I had to do a 45-minute jury, the entire faculty of School of Music, School of Fine Arts. I had to do an Italian aria, a French aria, a comedic monologue, a dramatic monologue, a jazz tune, a Broadway tune, and choreograph a dance for the whole faculty. And then they said, okay,
well done.
be gone. Exactly. Be gone.
You would have won them over on the first two.
Be gone. Thank you. But now they could officially start the degree program. So I'm the founder and first graduate of the musical theater degree program at the University of Miami. Graduated in 4 years. I minored in journalism and graduated magna cum laude. So that just sent me on my way of composing music, writing jingles, being a jingle singer, a session singer. So when I graduated, I immediately got a record deal on an independent label, had a single out, it made Billboard with a bullet. And then I was doing Broadway, off Broadway, and then got a call from the musical director of The Cosby Show to say he had my demo tape. Remember cassettes?
Exactly.
There you go. He had my demo tape with my phone number on it and said, would you be interested in working with me on the theme song for this new series? This is the concept. I'll send you